In a desperate effort to spare it from being punished by its owner, this man bought a crazy horse with a bad reputation for a bag of oats. Unbeknownst to everybody, the stallion had a hidden talent, and when he displayed it months later, the whole town was left speechless. On a seemingly peaceful morning, Mike was taking a walk to calm the storm in his mind. He had only been around for the past few months, and he had still not adjusted to the slow-paced life of the countryside. Only a few early risers passed him, as the town was yet to awaken. However, the market was already a hive of activities. The young man had a purpose. He needed a bag of oats for his farm. Among the lively traders, he found a vendor selling sacks of oats, and with a friendly nod, Mike exchanged a few coins for 2 bags filled with grain. As he made his way towards the market's edge, where traders were still arranging their wares for the day, a sudden commotion caught his attention. His curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to investigate what was happening. The curious man navigated through the maze of bustling market stalls until he reached the source of the disturbance. In a corner, a man who looked frustrated struggled with a horse. The horse had a wild look in its eyes and seemed to resist every attempt to be controlled. As Mike watched the scene unfold before him, he became increasingly intrigued and slightly concerned. The man, whose face was flushed with exertion, tugged at the reins, attempting to rein in the unruly horse. However, the horse seemed determined to have its own way and tossed its head while ignoring its owner's commands. Now more invested than ever, Mike moved closer to observe the struggle. The gathering was abuzz with stories of the horse and its owner. Eager to learn more, he approached a group of people, hoping to piece together the story of the horse. As Mike inquired, he gathered tidbits of gossip from the locals. The horse was named Apollo and, as it turned out, had earned a notorious reputation for being an exceptionally stubborn and crazy horse. From the snippets of information the young man gathered, it seemed the horse had a history of resisting the commands of his various owners. No matter how hard they tried, it refused to cooperate and rebelled at the slightest chance. Some townsfolk shared their own perspectives on Apollo's behavior. Most people believed that the horse's defiant nature might be linked to mistreatment and overworking by previous owners. The idea that Apollo's spirit had been broken through cruelty and excessive labor was the most agreed upon among the gossipers. There were other skeptics who believed that the horse's rebellious reputation was blown out of proportion. They argued that maybe its actions were simply misunderstood and was a result of fear or past trauma, rather than a willful defiance. Others believed that the horse was born with a defiant spirit. While the debate went on, the focus shifted as Apollo's owner grew visibly frustrated. As a result, he made a regrettable decision. In an attempt to assert dominance, he retrieved a whip from his side and menacingly approached Apollo. Witnessing what was about to happen, Mike felt a surge of determination and stepped forward, placing himself between the horse and the raised whip. In a firm yet calming voice, he addressed the angry man and urged him to reconsider his actions. Momentarily taken aback by Mike's unexpected intervention, the horse owner hesitated with the whip still in hand. Mike sensed an opportunity to defuse the situation and offered a solution. He proposed to buy the horse from its owner, recognizing that the animal seemed to be a burden for him. However, he realized that he had no money on him and had nothing of value on him, except for the bag of oats he had just purchased. Undeterred, he looked the man in the eyes and made a bold offer. He proposed exchanging the bag of oats for Apollo, believing that the horse deserved a chance at a different life. Weighing his options, the horse owner seemed to consider the unexpected offer. The crowd, having witnessed the earlier conflict, waited with bated breath for the horse owner's response. To Mike's surprise and relief, the man agreed to the unconventional deal. He saw an opportunity to rid himself of the stubborn horse, and a bag of oats seemed like a fair bargain in his eyes. Now Mike found himself in a situation he hadn't anticipated when he set out that morning. Aware of his limited experience with horses, he knew he needed help. Seeing him struggling to control the wild horse, Apollo's original owner made a practical decision. He instructed one of his boys to walk the stubborn horse home for him. As the trio walked through the town, Mike followed closely behind, feeling a mix of gratitude and uncertainty. Deep in thought, he couldn't help but reflect on the recent events in his life. A few weeks ago, he had lost his father and found himself inheriting a farm in the wake of his father's death, a responsibility he felt ill-prepared for. To add salt to the wound, his dad's death came at a time when he already was down. As a young man, he had gone to the city to try and make a career for himself, but it was harder than he thought. Full of ambition and dreams, he sought employment with reputable papers and magazines, only to face rejection after rejection. In a moment of necessity, he took up the role of waiter in a restaurant just to get by. When Mike received the news of his father's sickness, it hit him like a heavy storm. Without a second thought, he rushed back home to the quiet countryside where he grew up. Mike spent his days and nights providing comfort and care by his father's side. However, the illness was swift and unyielding. Within a few days, his father peacefully passed away. In the wake of his father's death, the young man inherited his father's farm. He knew next to nothing about maintaining a farm, but he remembered how much his father loved it. It was a place where a lot of memories had been made, and he knew deep down that his father wouldn't be happy if the farm went to waste. Considering that he was not earning much or even doing a job that he liked in the city, he decided to run the farm instead, even though he did not have the slightest clue where to start. On the morning when Mike met Apollo, his day had started with a simple plan. Get 2 bags of oats for the farm and start a little plantation. Instead, he was coming home with less oats than he would have liked to have, and a horse with a questionable reputation and fiery personality. As they walked back home with Apollo in tow, Mike couldn't help but wonder if he had made a mistake. When he had taken residence at the farm, he had sought advice from Jonas, his father's neighbor and a fellow farmer. The seasoned farmer had suggested getting 2 bags of oats to plant, emphasizing that it was the right season for such cultivation. Though he had given up one of the bags for the horse, he hoped that the one left would be sufficient for the farm until he had enough money to buy more seeds. On getting home, he did not know what to do with the horse. The initial excitement of acquiring it had given way to an overwhelming fear that left Mike unsure of how to approach his newfound companion. Apollo lived up to its reputation. He proved to be a handful, requiring patience and effort to establish a bond. It did not help that a crippling fear gripped Mike any time he went near him. The horse also posed a challenge that extended beyond the physical labor required to care for it. The reduction in seeds for the farm meant a potential setback in his efforts to cultivate the land. In the days that followed, Mike found himself facing the dual challenge of managing the wild horse and salvaging what remained of his initial plans for the farm. Unfortunately, the horse's reputation for being a bit on the crazy side turned out to be more than just hearsay. As Mike attempted to integrate the stallion into the rhythm of the farm, he encountered obstacles that made the process far from smooth. From the very beginning, Apollo proved to be difficult to handle. The horse carried an untamed spirit that resisted conformity. Feeding and providing water for Apollo became a daily ritual that required strategic planning. Hesitant to get too close, Mike would place the food and water at a safe distance and leave before the horse could get too close, avoiding direct interaction. The challenge extended to attempts at grooming and basic care. Wherever the young man employed boys to groom the horse, Apollo resisted any attempts to brush its mane or clean its hooves. Observing Mike's struggles, the townsfolk began to offer their perspectives. Jonas, the seasoned farmer and neighbor, advised him to consider selling the horse. He emphasized that focusing on the farm itself was more practical, especially given Apollo's reputation for being a handful. The idea of parting with the horse seemed like a logical solution to the challenges at hand. However, Mike couldn't bring himself to follow that advice. Despite Apollo's difficulties, he felt like a bond was forming, no matter how slowly. He couldn't fathom letting go of the horse, even in the face of well-meaning advice. Recognizing the young man's unwavering commitment, Jonas decided to offer guidance rather than insisting on his stance. He shared stories of his own experiences with challenging animals and emphasized the patience required to gain an animal's trust, especially one with a history like Apollo's. The other neighbors, though skeptical, watched with a mixture of curiosity and admiration as Mike persisted in his efforts to understand and connect with the horse. They believed that this city boy was in over their head and that he would never live up to his father's legacy. Some of them gently suggested he sell the farm and go back to the city, where he would, without a doubt, feel more at ease. If only they knew, Mike thought, that he hadn't felt at home there either. In all honesty, he had no idea where he belonged. Days turned into weeks, and the challenges continued. Apollo's resistance to basic commands and its occasional bursts of unpredictability created an atmosphere of uncertainty. Undeterred by the difficulties, Mike sought to understand the horse's behavior. He observed the horse's reactions to different stimuli, learning to anticipate its movements and moods. Gradually, he began to sense a pattern in the stallion's defiance. Eager to make a connection, the young farmer started spending more time with the horse so it could get accustomed to his scent. The breakthrough came during one quiet afternoon. Instead of approaching Apollo with trepidation, Mike decided to sit in the enclosure and allow the horse to come to him at its own pace. As Mike settled on a makeshift seat, the stallion observed from a distance, eyeing his owner with a mix of curiosity and caution. The air between them carried an unspoken tension, one that grew with each passing second. The man who had once cautiously tiptoed around the horse now sat a few feet from him, a picture of calm amidst the enclosure. Apollo, who was initially wary, allowed curiosity to overcome caution. He approached the farmer, and that one gesture changed the dynamics of their relationship. As the horse drew near, Mike maintained a calm demeanor. He gathered some courage and extended a hand towards the stallion. Surprisingly, the horse responded by nuzzling against his hand. No one knew what had changed, but it was clear that there had been a shift. In the days that followed, Mike continued to build on this newfound connection. He spent more time with Apollo, engaging in activities that allowed the horse to grow accustomed to human presence. Slowly, Apollo's defiant spirit began to soften, replaced by a growing trust in his human's intentions. When the townsfolk heard and saw the horse's transformation, they were beyond shock. Finally, they started to appreciate the tenacity of the young farmer. Little did they know that there were more surprises in store for them. Unknown to Mike, Apollo possessed an extraordinary ability that would soon prove vital for both him and the entire town. Beyond its famous defiant nature, the horse had an uncanny ability to sense danger. Just like most animals, he could sense the ill intentions of the people around him. But his gift went one step further, as he could sense danger from a distance. Unfortunately, in times past, when it had tried to warn its previous owners, they had attributed to its stubborn nature, and the poor horse only ended up with a beating. So, he never tried to warn humans again when his sixth sense acted up, but that would soon change. One peaceful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a group of bandits who sought to exploit the quietude of the countryside approached with ill intentions. Everyone in the town went about their business, oblivious to the danger that approached with each passing second. However, someone could sense it. As Mike tended to his farm chores, oblivious to the impending threat, Apollo became increasingly agitated. The horse, who was usually calm in the evenings, showed signs of restlessness. His ears twitched and he pawed the ground, sensing an imminent danger that eluded human perception. Unaware of Apollo's unease, the young farmer continued his routine. However, Apollo's behavior escalated and the horse began to neigh loudly. Hearing the troubled neighing of his horse, he rushed to its enclosure. Mike was surprised to see the horse so agitated. He had thought that the days of Apollo's defiance were behind them. He tried all the soothing techniques he knew worked on the horse. He tried speaking to it in a calm voice and stroking its mane, but all those tricks did not seem to work. The horse kept neighing loudly, and this drew the attention of the townsfolk. Soon, they gathered around to witness the struggle between Mike and his beloved horse. To the young farmer, It seemed too similar to the market scene he had witnessed earlier. Meanwhile, just a few houses away, the bandits were breaking into one of the houses. All attention was on the stubborn horse, and the thief saw it as a perfect opportunity to cart away valuables without anyone seeing them. Unknown to them, someone was painfully aware of their presence. Apollo could sense that danger was lurking in the quiet town his beloved owner lived in and was desperately trying to make the humans understand that they needed to be on high alert, but they couldn't decipher his message. Apollo was not willing to let any harm come to Mike and decided to take matters into his own hooves. Driven by an instinct to protect, he broke free from his enclosure and galloped towards the impending threat. Everyone was surprised and ran after the horse. The ones who were fast enough were able to follow Apollo to its destination. Everyone, especially Mike, was surprised at the horse's behavior. He followed the crowd, eager to see where the horse was going. The bandits, who had just stepped out of their victim's house, were taken aback by the unexpected resistance. Seeing the powerful stallion charging towards them caused them to freeze in their steps and stop their retreat into the woods. Most of the people caught up and were surprised at the drama that unfolded. Recovering from their initial shock and seeing that they were surrounded, the bandits made an attempt to make a run for it. However, Apollo stood firm, his imposing figure blocking the path to their escape. A tense silence enveloped the scene as the bandits hesitated in their advance, caught off guard by Apollo's unexpected resistance. They attempted to intimidate him with loud shouts and threatening gestures. Undeterred, the horse responded with a powerful snort, his eyes gleaming with determination. Witnessing Apollo's bravery, the townsfolk rallied together. The brave ones amongst them went close and stripped the bandits of their stolen possessions. They rounded the men up and took them to the local police station. Mike felt the surge of pride and gratitude towards the horse he had once feared. As the man led the bandits away, the townspeople erupted into cheers. Apollo stood tall, with his mane flowing in the night breeze. Mike, now recognized as his owner, became an unexpected hero in the eyes of the community. The town, once divided by skepticism, now rallied around man and horse. Grateful for Apollo's bravery, the townsfolk began to see the bond between them in a new light. The same townspeople who had advised him to sell Apollo now regarded the horse with newfound respect. Once known for his defiance, the mighty stallion became a local legend, and Mike, the outsider, found acceptance in the warmth of the community. Recognizing Apollo's unique abilities, the townsfolk organized a ceremony to honor the horse. A makeshift stage was set up in the market square, adorned with flowers and ribbons. The townspeople gathered to express their gratitude, and Mike, accompanied by Apollo, stood at the center of the newfound admiration. Speeches were made recounting the day Apollo had bravely confronted the bandits. Then, the townspeople presented the duo with small gifts for the farm and precious advice to make their stay and future as pleasant as possible. Whereas they had both been considered outsiders, they were now seen as irreplaceable members of the community, and everyone did their best to make them feel welcome and appreciated. As the ceremony concluded, Mike felt a sense of belonging he hadn't anticipated when he first arrived in the quiet countryside. He was still young and inexperienced, but now he knew that he had the town to rely on for support and advice, and that his mighty stallion would always be next to him to remind him that he belonged. What a surprising ending. Would you have accepted the bargain if you'd been Apollo's first owner? And would you buy a horse just to save it from punishment? Share your thoughts and comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next story.